So here's a clip from this past Thursday's Anderson Cooper 360. Anderson's guests were veteran and anti-Islamic activist Jon Ritzheimer, who organized an anti-Muslim protest, and yet another controversial Draw the Prophet Muhammad contest that took place the following day after this interview. And the other guest is Philip Mudd, a security analyst. But I'll let you listen to the clip now. I report, you decide.
You got a sense a moment ago of why the FBI has such deep concerns about ISIS here in the United States. To some extent, it's a numbers problem. It's also a side effect of being an open society where people express their views and others take offense, sometimes violently. In Garland, Texas, you'll recall 2 ISIS sympathizers were shot dead after opening fire with assault rifles outside a Draw the Prophet Muhammad event. Now, a similar event is scheduled tomorrow outside a mosque in Phoenix, and participants are being encouraged to bring firearms. Sarah Seidner is there. She joins us tonight. So the rally planned for tomorrow, what more do you know about it?
Look, they're supposed to have this rally. They're calling it a freedom of speech rally round 2 because this is the second time they've done this. But before the rally outside the Islamic Community Center and Mosque, they are going to have another drawing contest of the Prophet Muhammad, a cartoon drawing contest. They're inviting people to that first and saying that after those cartoons are drawn, after those depictions are made, that they are to bring those out here and that they will use those in the rally. They're encouraging people to do that. They are certainly encouraging folks to be peaceful, but they also say on their Facebook page something different that they said the last time. And let me read you what it is that they are telling people. They say that people, while this is supposed to be a very peaceful rally, that people are also encouraged to utilize their Second Amendment right at this event, just in case the First Amendment comes under the much anticipated attack. The Second Amendment, obviously the right to bear arms, the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. And so what they're encouraging people to basically do is bring arms with them in case they come under attack. That has worried a lot of people, has worried, of course, the folks that come to this mosque because they're planning on doing this when the mosque has its Friday prayers. That is a day of prayer for Muslims. They come here to this mosque often, women, children, families, and basically they're concerned about their own safety after seeing that particular wordage there on the Facebook page.
So what's the mosque saying? What's the community center saying about all this?
Look, we talked to the Council on American Islamic Relations, who is kind of speaking for the 2 mosques that are here in Phoenix, and they're very concerned. They also said something that we had not heard before. They said that they received threats via letter that had threatened not only the imams but the congregation itself, threatened violence against the congregation. They're very concerned about that. They say they have talked to the FBI about that. We know now that the police are planning on having a presence out here. They want to make sure that things do actually go peacefully. But there's a lot of concern in this community, not just because of the rally, because this has happened before and it did go off peacefully. But they are very concerned about other threats that have also come forward, and they feel like this is just inciting violence.
All right, Sarah Seidner, appreciate the update. Joining us now is Jon Ritzheimer, who organized the event. Also with us is former FBI and CIA counterterrorism official Philip Mudd. Mr. Ritzheimer, appreciate you being with us. So you're encouraging hundreds of armed people to gather outside a mosque during a prayer service wearing T-shirts saying F Islam. And I certainly know you have the right to protest. Everybody does in this country. But you yourself have said this is a provocation. I know you've compared it to poking a bear or kicking a hornet's nest. So what are you really trying to achieve?
Well, I'm really trying to achieve exposing Islam and the truth about what's written in the Quran. People, even Mr. Mudd that's joining us, he's said that he thinks this is a bad idea. And some would probably argue that, the signers that signed the Declaration of Independence was a bad idea back in their day.
So you're comparing yourself to the signers of the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah. I don't want to live in fear. I shouldn't have to live in fear.
What are you afraid of?
Well, we've received a bunch of credible threats. I've already had the police and come to my house. My family's currently packing up, and they're going into hiding.
So I understand you don't like Islam. You clearly equate Islam with terrorism. You served in Iraq. You served proudly in the Marines, and we should honor that service. You served in support of an Islamic government in Iraq. So if you hate Islam, how do you justify having done that?
Well, I the core values of Islam is what I really hate.
Right, but you were promoting an Islamic government. You were helping bolster an Islamic government in Iraq. So why were you doing that?
Okay, well, let me answer it like this. I was over there, and I was following orders. I was
So
young.
do you feel you were supporting terrorists while you were supporting an Islamic government in Iraq? Do you say the Marines who have been fighting in Afghanistan are supporting terrorism as well?
No, I do not. Let me finish. I was uneducated when I went over there. I was a junior Marine following orders. I was scared, but I wasn't uneducated about Islam. It wasn't until I came home and utilized my 9/11 GI Bill and then I started studying.
But now that you're allegedly educated on Islam, you were supporting an Islamic government in Iraq. So are you saying that Marines and others who are currently serving in Afghanistan and elsewhere are supporting terrorists?
If their government is going to be run under Sharia law and stuff, then yeah, I don't support that.
It's not Sharia law, but it is an Islamic government. So you believe that all active duty service members right now are supporting terrorism around the world?
No, I do not believe that.
But they're supporting Islamic governments, and you believe Islam equals terrorism?
I do not believe that.
You don't believe that Islam at its core is terrorism?
Oh yes, true Islam is terrorism. Yes, the ones that are out committing these atrocities and stuff, they're following the book as it's written.
So let me bring in Phil. Phil, in terms of what the U.S. is trying to achieve in the Islamic world, what Marines and others are fighting and dying for, do events like this thing that's going to happen tomorrow in Phoenix, do you believe it actually hurts the U.S. outreach to the vast majority of the Muslim world?
I see this kind of event and I look at ISIS and I know what they're going to say. This is proof that what we're telling you to recruit you out of Denver, out of Phoenix, out of Los Angeles, out of New York, that's true. They talk to you about democracy, free speech, and living with your religion, regardless of what it is in America, but they don't live that in practice.
Mr. Ritzheimer, I think Phil brings up an interesting point. Aren't you playing into the narrative of ISIS, of Al-Qaeda, which is basically trying to say there's a war between Islam and the West, and you have to choose. You can't be a Muslim in the United States. You have to be opposed to the United States. Aren't you playing into their hands? Isn't this exactly the reaction and the message that the terrorists want?
Sure.
Sure, it is? So,
sure.
Okay, so you're playing into ISIS and Al-Qaeda hands. Do you feel good about that?
I'm just doing what I have to do to make sure that my children have a good future.
You don't believe that this is playing into the narrative of what ISIS and Al-Qaeda is trying to shed? I mean, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, to Phil's point, is pushing this narrative that there is a war between Islam and the West. You fully believe there's a war between Islam and the West, I guess, yes?
Yes.
So you see yourself as a foot soldier somehow in a war. So you think that it's wise for the West to have war against the billion-plus Muslims around the world?
No, I don't want war, but they need to learn tolerance. We're not the ones out committing these acts. We're not the one threatening anybody.
You don't
by believing
think
otherwise.
Bringing guns to a mosque while families are praying inside, wearing T-shirts that say "F Islam" and shouting whatever it is you're going to shout at them as they come and as they go, you don't think that's promoting violence at all?
I think the whole thing is, the cartoon contest especially, I think it's stupid and ridiculous, but it's what needs to take place in order to expose the true colors of Islam.
Jon Ritzheimer, I appreciate being on. Phil Mudd as well. Thanks very much.